You know, we all hit send on our phones and computers dozens, maybe even hundreds of times a day, and we don't even think about it. But have you ever stopped to wonder what's actually happening in that split second after your message zips off your screen? Well, we're about to pull back the curtain on that invisible journey. We're going to explore the secret battles that decide if your information gets where it's going safely or if it ends up in the wrong hands.
So let me ask you this, and it's a little bit of an unsettling question. When you send a message, are you 100% sure that no one else is listening in? Or, and this is even worse, that somebody could actually change your message before it even gets to your friend? This isn't just some hypothetical thing. It has real-world consequences, as you're about to see.
Okay, so imagine this. You text your friend, hey, let's meet up at 2 p.m. Simple, right? But what if an attacker grabs that message mid-flight? They just change one single number, and suddenly the message your friend gets says meet at 4 p.m. It's such a tiny change, but it causes a huge miscommunication. And that right there is the exact kind of problem that information security is designed to stop.
To solve a problem like that, you need a plan. You need a framework, a sort of mission for your message. And lucky for us, security experts have boiled this all down to 3 basic goals that every single piece of secure information has to achieve on its journey.
Okay, so let's dive into what those goals are. It's called the CIA triad. And no, not that CIA. In our world, this stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These 3 words, these 3 principles, they're the bedrock of pretty much all of information security. So let's break down what each one actually means.
So first up is confidentiality. This is the one we're probably all most familiar with. It's just about keeping secrets. Think of it like a digital sealed envelope. The goal is super simple. Only the person who's supposed to read the message should ever be able to. If anyone else takes a peek, all they should see is complete and utter nonsense.
Next, we have integrity. And this takes us right back to our 2 p.m. versus 4 p.m. problem from the beginning. Integrity is all about making sure that the data hasn't been messed with or changed while it's in transit. The critical thing here is that the message your friend gets is the exact one you sent, down to the very last letter, the very last period. No changes allowed.
And the final pillar of our triad is availability.
I mean, security is pretty pointless if it locks you out of your own stuff, right? This just means your information has to be there for you when you need it. So if a ransomware attack locks down your files or a website server goes down, that's a failure of availability. Because, let's be honest, information is completely useless if you can't get to it.
Okay, so we've got our 3 goals. Keep it secret, keep it accurate, and keep it accessible. But what are the obstacles? What are the things our messages are up against on their journey? Let's talk about the threats that are trying to break these rules.
These threats, they really fall into 2 main categories, 2 big buckets. On one side, you've got your passive attacks. This is basically just eavesdropping, someone listening in. But on the other side, you've got active attacks. And this is where an opponent doesn't just listen, they get their hands dirty and actually start changing things.
Let's take a look at how a passive attack works. As you can see in this picture, you've got a third party. We can just call them C, and they're just watching the data flow. They can read the message, which, breaks confidentiality, but notice they aren't changing anything. So the message's integrity is still totally fine.
Now, active attacks, this is where things get really aggressive. The attacker here isn't just a fly on the wall. They are actively meddling. They could pretend to be your bank, that's a masquerade attack, to trick you into giving them your password. They could modify data, just like in our meeting time example, or they could do something like a denial of service attack, where they flood a website with so much junk traffic that it just crashes, which is a total violation of its availability.
So with all of these threats out there, how in the world do we actually protect our messages and make sure we hit that CIA triad? Well, the #1 tool in our security toolkit is actually an ancient art form that's been remade for our digital age, cryptography. And at the very heart of cryptography is this thing called encryption. Really, all it is the process of taking normal, readable information, we call that plain text, and scrambling it up into a secret code, which we call ciphertext. The whole point is to make the message completely unreadable to anyone who isn't supposed to be seeing it in the first place. And right here, you can see that process in action. The totally readable plain text hello goes into this encryption process, and what comes out is just a jumble of meaningless symbols. This is our main defense against those eavesdroppers. Even if they manage to intercept the message, it's just going to look like total gibberish to them. But how do you unscramble it on the other side? That's where the key comes in. A key is just a secret piece of information that's used to both lock the message, that's the encrypting part, and to unlock it, that's the decrypting part. If you don't have the right key, that ciphertext is just going to stay meaningless noise forever.
Here's a super simple, classic example just to show you how it works. It's called the Caesar cipher. In this case, the key is just a number. So let's say our key is 4. All we do is shift every letter in our message 4 spots forward in the alphabet. So H becomes L, E becomes I, and our word hello turns into lips. Now this is really basic for sure, but it's the core idea behind the much, much more complex encryption we use today.
All right, we've covered the goals, the threats, and our main tool for fighting back. So now, let's put it all together and follow one single message on its totally secure journey, from the very beginning to the very end.
This model really puts everything in one place for us. You see on the left, you've got a sender with a message. They use a secret key to encrypt it, and then they send it across some channel where, yeah, an opponent might be listening in, but because it's encrypted, the message is totally protected until it gets to the receiver who uses their key to unlock the original, untampered-with information.
Our source material actually puts it perfectly. The sender generates a message that will be converted into an encrypted message by using a key. This process is encryption. That's really the heart of it. The receiver on the other end just uses a matching key to reverse the whole process. We call that decryption, and they get the original message back, safe and sound.
So, there you have it. We've seen the mission, we've met the enemies, and we've looked at the tools that protect our digital lives every single day. From a simple text message to a huge bank transfer, these exact same principles are always at play. And that leaves me with just one last thought for you. Now that you know the basics of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, what's the one security step you'll think about differently from now on?